Good morning. Today we are reading One Evil Summer by R.L. Stine. This is the Fear Street series. This is the very first book he wrote as in the Fear Street series. Deep purple splotches floated before Amanda's eyes, but part of her wanted to sink back into the blackness. The other part was struggling hard to come fully awake. The splotches slowly faded to gray. The fog cleared, and she saw her father's face, very far away. Then closer, closer. "I think she's coming, too," Amanda heard him say. She felt something cool on her forehead. Then her mother's worried face moved out of the gray blur. "What happened?" Amanda asked weakly. "My head hurts. Why are you here?" "You must have fainted," Mr. Coughlin told her. "I got up to get a glass of water and found you on the floor outside Chrissy's room." "Chrissy?" The name jolted her memory. Amanda struggled up onto her elbows. "You have got to get rid of her," she pleaded shrilly. "You have to. Please." "Calm down, Amanda," said Mrs. Coughlin, taking her arm gently. Amanda tossed her mother's hand off. "I can't calm down. Something terrible is going to happen to all of us if we don't get rid of her." Amanda tried to keep her voice from trembling. She knew she sounded out of control, but she couldn't stop it. They had to listen to her. They had to. Chrissy was floating. "I saw her." Mr. and Mrs. Coughlin exchanged worried glances. "Listen to me," Amanda insisted. Chrissy was floating. She was nearly a foot off the floor. "Why do you think I fainted?" Mr. Coughlin rubbed Amanda's shoulder. "We don't know, hon, but we're sure that—" "No," Amanda cut him off. She jumped up from the floor. Come with me. You'll see for yourself." "Amanda, stop," her mother pleaded, but Amanda turned toward Chrissy's room with a shove. She pushed the door in. She turned back to see that her parents were right behind her. Then she stopped into the bedroom. In the darkness she saw Chrissy on her side in bed, asleep. "What's going on?" Chrissy lifted her head. "Is there a problem?" Her voice came out a sleep-filled whisper. Amanda realized her entire body was trembling. "You were floating," she shrieked. "Don't deny it. I saw you." "Floating?" Chrissy asked, rubbing her eyes. "Amanda, I don't understand." The innocent act was more than Amanda could take. "Listen, I've never imagined anything before," she cried angrily. "And I didn't imagine this." Chrissy raised her eyes to Amanda's parents. "Is she joking or something?" Amanda saw red. Something inside her snapped. She leaped at Chrissy. "Liar, liar!" she screamed. She grabbed Chrissy's shoulders and shook them hard. Chrissy's mouth opened in shock. "Liar, liar!" Amanda cried in a shrill, high voice she had never heard before. Abruptly, she felt two strong hands pulling her off Chrissy. Mr. Coughlin grabbed Amanda around the waist, and tugged her back. He held on so firmly that she couldn't break free. "I'm sorry, Chrissy," he said. "Please go back to sleep. I'm terribly, terribly sorry." Chrissy was still breathing hard. She pulled herself up shakily. "Is Amanda okay? Why is she so upset? Is there anything I can do for her? No, please, Mr. Coughlin insisted. We'll handle her. She'll be okay. Try to sleep. Amanda didn't struggle. She followed her parents to pull her from the room. She allowed her parents to pull her from the room, down the stairs and into the living room. Her father set Amanda down on the living room couch, keeping a gentle but strong hold on her wrists. A whirl of emotions swept over Amanda. Fear, embarrassment, anger, desperation. The feeling swelled until she could bear it no longer. Then suddenly, it felt as if a dam burst and Amanda collapsed in great heaving sobs. She bent forward, buried her face in her hands to let the tears come. After a while, she heard someone enter the room. Glancing up, she saw Kyle, sleepily rubbing his eyes. What's the matter with Amanda? Mrs. Coughlin got up quickly from the couch and turned him around. It's nothing, sweetheart. Amanda is just upset about Mr. Jinks. Go back to bed. I don't blame her, Kyle mumbled as he obediently stumbled back toward his bedroom. Maybe your mother's right, said Mr. Coughlin kindly. I think you might be in shock over what happened today. I'm still a bit shocked myself. I know how much you loved Mr. Jinks. For those of you joining me, if you like YA horror mystery adventures that is spooky and creepy like Fear Street, and you like vampires and a little bit of teen romance, you may like Vampire Juice. My link is in the bio. Amanda's sobs had begun to subside, but she mention of Mr. Jinks set her off again. She felt as if she might never stop crying. Mrs. Coughlin returned from getting Kyle back to bed. She lowered herself in the couch on the other side of Amanda. Honey, do you feel like Chrissy is replacing you in your affections? Mom, please, Amanda said. I can't take those questions now. I just want them to believe me, Amanda told herself. I know what I saw in Chrissy's room. I have to make them believe me. She wiped the tears from her face. She took several deep breaths, trying to calm herself. Mom, Dad, have I ever fainted before? No, Mrs. Coughlin admitted. Have I ever imagined anything crazy before? No, Mrs. Coughlin replied softly. Then why would I imagine something now? And why would I faint unless I'd seen something completely terrifying? Amanda, her father said thoughtfully, You ate almost nothing at dinner. You had a hard day. You might even be coming down with something. You might have been sleepwalking, her mother suggested. You probably dreamed that you saw what you think you saw, and then you went to sleep there on the floor. That sounds very possible, Mr. Coughlin agreed. Possible? Was it possible that she dreamed Chrissy floating up off the floor and fell asleep in front of her bedroom door? Yes, Amanda reluctantly admitted to herself it was possible. A lot more possible than Chrissy floating in midair. Maybe you're right, she gave in wearily. Her mother shifted her weight on the couch. You know, she started writing this article about stress in teenagers has been a real eye-opener for me. There are so many different pressures on kids. Perhaps you'd like to talk to a counselor or a therapist. Amanda groaned. I'm not a kid in your article, Mom. I don't need a therapist. Mrs. Coughlin sighed. Sometimes we all need to explore our feelings. I just finished reading a book about sleepwalking as part of the research for my article. A lot of times, it means the person is really stressed. Amanda looked to her father for help. He gazed at her thoughtfully. Then he said, "Why don't we leave this for the morning? I think the best thing for us right now is to get some sleep." Amanda settled under the sheet. She still felt wide awake. She no longer felt the urge to cry, but she couldn't stop her mind from returning to all that happened since Chrissy had arrived, and again she saw Chrissy hovering, her bare feet floating nearly a foot off the floor. Chrissy floated, or had she? How can I blame my parents for not believing such an insane story? Amanda wondered. She had to admit that the sleepwalking theory made the most sense. With the lights out, Amanda lay in bed listening to the crickets. Even with the shade down, a line of white moonlight crept in the window, etching a line on the wood floor. Amanda suddenly felt exhausted, completely drained. But she was afraid to sleep. She was sure she'd dream of Chrissy's contorted, laughing face, even if it had been only a dream. It was a dream she didn't want to have again. Finally, she shifted into an uncomfortable sleep, a short sleep. When she awoke, her clock read 2:15. Amanda sat up in the dark room. The sound of crickets had stopped. Now Amanda heard other sounds. Someone was awake and moving around the house. Every nerve on edge, Amanda slipped out of bed. Her curiosity overpowered her fear as she crept out into the hall. Who is it? Was it Kyle or her parents? She had to know. Keeping close to the wall, Amanda crept toward Chrissy's room. Her pulse quickened as she realized the door was open. She fought down a strong urge to run back to her room. She didn't want to know what she might see if she peered into Chrissy's room again. Summoning her courage, she peeked into the room. Chrissy's bed was empty. The rumpled covers were illuminated by the pitch of moonlight. Amanda took a deep breath. "Chrissy, where are you? Why are you up?" She followed the sounds downstairs to the kitchen. The kitchen light was on. She saw Chrissy. Chrissy had thrown a lightweight pink robe over her nightgown. She was leaning against the kitchen counter, eating from the open bag of Oreos and gazing thoughtfully out the window. Just a late night cookie binge. Amanda breathed a sigh of relief. Happily, she made her way back up the stairs to her room. She stopped outside Chrissy's room. Whoa! The newspaper clippings. They were lying in the middle of Chrissy's bed. Why did I notice them before? Amanda wondered. Then she saw that the moonlight had shifted a bit. The clippings had been hidden in darkness before. My goodness. I've got to see those newspaper stories, Amanda decided. I've got to find out what Chrissy didn't want me to see. She checked that back over her shoulder. Chrissy was still down in the kitchen. That is my chance, Amanda told herself as she stepped into Chrissy's room. What are you hiding in here, Chrissy? What her heart pounding, she bent over the bed and gathered up the clippings. There were about 15 of them. With a trembling hand, Amanda picked up one of the news stories and read the headline, "Teenager Remains in County Hospital." She let it drop and picked up another article, but before she could raise it close enough to her face to read in the dim light, Amanda felt a cold hand grab the back of her neck. Oh. Well, that's all I'm going to read for today. Thank you for watching. The full version will be on YouTube. And if you like YA horror mystery adventures that are spooky and creepy like Fear Street, you like vampires, teen romance, and Lost Boys. Yes, it's like Lost Boys. Then check out Vampire Juice. My link is in the bio. Thanks for watching.